My name is Marge Adler. I've been in Miami since 2003 and became involved with the Women's Fund almost immediately. In Philadelphia, where I was for many years, I was a founding member, a leader, a large donor, and so on, to Women's Way, which is an organization that funds organizations focused on women and children. And when I came to Miami, I was looking around for somewhere to give my energies that would involve the same kinds of issues. And so I can't remember exactly who told me about the Women's Fund, to be perfectly honest, but somebody pointed me in that direction. And I started went to the luncheon, the Power of the Purse, I guess the first year I was here, and, you know, met people and so on. And then the then executive director, Claudia Kitchens, and the then president of the board approached me about would I be interested in serving on the board of the Women's Fund, to which I responded instantly. Since the organization represents what I like to do with my time and how to support women and their families and whatever issues they have. At the time that I joined, the Women's Fund was almost exclusively funding agencies, and I got involved, of course, with visitation, involved with some of the early organizations. And one that totally struck my interest, I guess, was LEAP, the Leadership Education Empowerment Program. And they are still around. For many years in a row, I would go down to the prison in South Dade to visit with them, to be there very often for their graduation ceremony as people were getting ready to leave the prison. And within recent years, they got involved with, I think they were doing more aggressive fundraising on their own, and opened a thrift shop in Little Havana and have done a lot of things more aggressively than they used to, which I think is wonderful. And I think the fact that they still exist, as well as a lot of other organizations that the Women's Fund has funded over the years, is a tribute both to them and to the Women's Fund. After I went off the board, and after I retired, I was less involved. I always went to the Power of the Purse and tried to be supportive, but I wasn't as active as I once had been. That's not to say that my concern for the issues waned. It was just there were other things taking up my time. I think when the Women's Fund moved away from direct grant making into advocacy, that held a less active appeal for me. I'm not one to go to big turnouts and so on, so that I still supported the Women's Fund financially, but I did not really involve myself with the advocacy. Now, one of the things I think that the advocacy has done, which as the Women's Fund segues back into some direct grant making as well, is it certainly increased the visibility of the organization, beginning with the change of the logo to the big W, but seeing that big W on billboards about sex trafficking and violence against women and so on was, I think, very instructional to the community at large in ways that sometimes funding smaller organizations is not. I look forward to seeing what the Women's Fund is going to do now as it returns somewhat to grant making, how it will package that. I think I'm certainly glad to see a lot of younger people. I mean, I'm in my 80th year, so I'm happy to see younger people become involved in the organization. And I'll be interested to see how that transition goes.